It's time for That Was the Woke That Was with Andre Walker.
Hello and welcome to That Was the Woke That Was, the topical quiz show that goes through all of the wokest stories of the week. And on my panel tonight, I've got Lacey Butcher, Sunil Sharma, Ben Loughnane, and the lovely, the beautiful Reem Ibrahim. Let's get this party started. OK, Netflix are turning the Harry and Meghan car chase into a movie and they're getting Quentin Tarantino to direct it. Is it true or false?
It would be like Pulp Fiction, but more fiction.
Oh, I'll tell you
They're
what.
telling their truth.
They're telling
and it's
their
not
truth.
real.
I'm just telling my truth. No, but your truth and the truth are clearly different things. I mean, look, is it distasteful, Reem, to have done this, given what happened to Princess Diana?
I think what's distasteful about it is the fact that they are sort of trying to present this as their own truth, the fact that there is some kind of subjective truth. Clearly there is a lot of fiction in that in itself. I think it is quite distasteful and it's quite disrespectful to his own mother's legacy.
Now, do you think that there is any sort of correlation between the fact that Harry's been in court this week trying to get the British taxpayer to pay for his security and this mysteriously appearing in the press?
It's very convenient.
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah. Well, it wasn't that convenient. They lost the case, but...
Well, maybe he hired the press in order to get the security. No, I can't say that.
I've got to say, after a 2-hour car chase, finally the paparazzi were able to shake off Harry and Meghan.
I garnered a lot of sympathy for Prince Harry when he saw a loved one of his, whether we think it's true or false, with Meghan. He saw her being hounded with the press in the same way he witnessed that happening to his mother. And I was sympathetic towards that. But then having this whole thing about the paparazzi following them in a car and then it actually turning out to be so much further from the truth than what was portrayed, I think is utterly disrespectful. OK, well, we went out and asked the public what they thought about this. So before you give your answer, let's take a look at this. Do you believe that Meghan Markle was telling the truth about her high-speed car chase around New York?
No, because for $17 taxi fare, they could only go 16 feet in New York City.
How fast normally are high-speed chases around Manhattan?
You could walk faster.
Was she lying about the high-speed car chase in New York?
No.
But can you drive fast in New York?
No.
So how can she be telling the truth? Do you think that Meghan Markle really was involved in a high-speed car chase around New York?
I don't know nothing about that.
I think that you are an expert in coach driving, but actually have limited your interest to that.
This is where my interest is.
Do you believe that Meghan Markle really had a high-speed car chase around New York?
Of course she did, in a Mini.
OK, how fast will it go?
As fast as it's about 20 miles an hour.
OK, do you reckon I can outpace you to the ice cream van?
Not on a good day, but let's give it a go.
Let's do it. Do you think that Meghan Markle actually had a high-speed car chase around New York?
I'm Australian and we love Meghan and Harry.
Why?
We do, we love Princess Di. Oh, I'll tell you what. Oh, I think I've just lost a testicle. So that's what the public think, but what do you think? Do you think that there's going to be a Netflix film about it with Quentin Tarantino directing?
I don't think that's true.
You don't think
not. Well, I don't think Quentin Tarantino would take the job.
That's true. I was going to say, I think that they would potentially try and create some kind of movie out of this, but not using a kind of well-renowned director. So I think it's false, but I wouldn't be surprised if they do end up doing it.
I mean, it is absolutely false! I've got to say, I loved when Quentin Tarantino appeared on Channel 4 News. I'm telling you about that. I'm telling you about that. OK, Keir Starmer has pledged to give Philip Schofield a knighthood if he wins the next election. Is it true or false?
That's got to be false. That has to be
I mean, where do we start with this one?
Services to being deeply unpleasant.
Well, yeah, I mean, we should probably be a bit careful about what we say about this one. But I tell you one thing that really gets me. 21 years of his life he dedicated to that sofa, and 30 seconds was the outro that he got on Monday when...
It was 30 seconds longer than most people thought he deserved. I'll tell you what I find a remarkable thing about him is that obviously we, working in TV, get to know whether people are just nice people or not, right? And actually, he's somebody who's famously unpleasant. Now, I have to say, I never met the man,
But I just wonder whether members of the public should know whether these people are just unpleasant in real life.
Definitely. I mean, my father told me a story when he met him yonks ago, and he had a cigarette inside, and he was like, "Oh, don't tell anyone, like it's some state secret." But also that he was higher, better than thou.
I think Lacey's right, and I think this idea that he, spent so much time being the sort of the sweetheart of Britain on This Morning, and then for him to be gone within 30 seconds just goes to show that they had known this has been going on for such a long time. So I think that this kind of idea behind what's been going on for quite a while, people knew, and people. But
what about the idea, Ben, that that's been suggested by Eamon Holmes and others, which is they're both as bad as each other in terms of being unpleasant narcissists, him and Holly, and this power struggle hopefully should result in neither of them winning.
I have to say, I do love the stylist approach of Holly, of just effectively airbrushing him out of pictures and putting all distance between them, like the moment that it came down to
Are you saying that Holly Willoughby's a dangerous communist?
I wouldn't possibly say that on TV, but at the pub afterwards, ask me again.
But it is amazing. I mean, they were holier than thou, the two of them, weren't they? And actually, you end up in a situation where you're going, well, actually, in real life, you're not this cuddly, lovable pair that you pretend to be.
No, absolutely. I think they put on the face for the cameras, but behind the scenes, a bit like James Corden has been accused of this being absolutely horrific to the people behind the cameras.
But Ellen DeGeneres is
Ellen DeGeneres. But on TV, they're the loveliest, bubbliest people.
Just like Andre, on TV he's lovely, behind the scenes.
Oh, in the green room, he's got a whip.
No, as I've always said, I have a leather strap that I call the corrector that I use on members of staff that displease me. But Sunil, look, I just want to ask you, you work in a serious job. Admittedly, you're here in your capacity as a political commentator. But look, when you go to work, are you supposed to be there to be the most lovable person, or are you supposed to do a job? If Philip Schofield was good on camera, does it matter that he was quite rude to people behind the scenes?
I think in his job it does. When he's in the public eye and he's like speaking to our nation every single day, then I think it does matter the kind of person he is. If he's doing it privately in a private sector job where he doesn't interface with the whole world, then I think it's different. In his role, I think it is important. Not necessarily to be I'm not saying he should be like Gandhi or something, but he should be a good person, you'd hope, at least.
So you think he should be not like Gandhi in that he shouldn't wear a toga, right?
Yeah. He shouldn't go around, I don't know, trying to unify the world. But he should be respectful to his staff, at least. He doesn't have to be the best person, but like respectable to his staff and be a pleasant person.
I mean, I don't know, Lacey. I just wonder whether sometimes, in defence of this man, sometimes people in TV are so focused on the job in hand that actually that can come across quite rude. I mean, that's what you're like.
Oh, thanks for that, Andre. No, I completely understand. I mean, perhaps within some professional capacities, I can understand there being kind of a bit of a front, bit of a face going on. But not when you've got people coming in saying, "Oh, my dustbins haven't been collected." This morning's a light-hearted show. It's not something you have to have that much of a different facade for. But as I say, he did it for 21 years. He was just pushed out the door, and I don't know if he was pushed or he jumped. Either way,
certainly pushed. I mean, I obviously we don't know. We can't say certain what happened, but he definitely didn't just go on his own accord.
Yeah.
No, I don't. I think the statement made that pretty clear. To be absolutely honest, where he said he'd agreed to leave.
No, he didn't. He was definitely fired.
I'm agreeing to walk out that door. You don't have to drag me.
But when you got the likes like Eamon Holmes actually kind of spilling the actual behind-the-scenes gossip about what's been going on for quite some time, it is quite telling about these. I guess these personas breaking down.
And I have to say to you, Eamon Holmes is one of my sort of horse racing drinking buddies. He is a lovely bloke. And actually, that is an interesting point, isn't it? Because he's been hugely successful in his career and hasn't been unpleasant to people. Yeah. So it proves that you don't need to be, really.
There's plenty of people who do the same job as Philip Schofield who aren't absolute terrors to their staff and the people around them. You can do both. You can be a high-powered, efficient, good presenter without being terrible to people behind the scenes.
Yeah, and I actually disagree with Sunil when it comes to, when you're in the private sector, when you're in the private behind-the-scenes jobs, you don't have to be as kind. I actually think we should all I mean, this might sound very lefty, but I think we should all try and be a bit kind to everyone and respectful to everyone as much as we possibly can.
Should we all hold hands and sing Kumbaya?
Yes!
Then let's do that, come on.
Kumbaya,
my Lord, Kumbaya. Kumbaya. Right, stop that. And don't applaud. Lacey attempted to applaud herself then. That is a disgrace.
I think we're on the wrong show.
I think we are.
That's right. OK, I was out and about, not imagining anything, thinking and asking people about Philip Schofield. Take it away. Will you miss Philip Schofield?
Who the hell is Philip Schofield?
Excuse me, sir, will you miss Philip Schofield?
I don't speak English.
That's what they all say. Are you glad to see the end of Philip Schofield?
Yes.
Why?
I like it.
Are you?
At the moment, sorry.
He will just say anything to get on my show. Do you have anything nice to say about Philip Schofield? Will you miss him?
I didn't know him, but I do know this. I know Jesus. Was Philip Schofield a Christian?
I don't know.
Oh, well, hopefully he was. And if he was, he's in a better place.
I mean, he's not dead.
Oh, I thought he was dead.
No, he's not dead. Will you miss Philip Schofield?
Yes.
Why?
He's handsome.
Are you actually? Do you know who he is, though?
No.
Do you like Philip Schofield? Will you miss Philip Schofield?
Why? Where's he gone?
Well, he's no longer on This Morning. Keep up.
I'm just so caught off guard right now.
Oh, sorry, you're on the phone.
Yeah.
Yeah, who is it? Hello?
Tash.
Hello, Tash. Oh, she's just got out of the shower. Have a look at that. Oh, she's got a Tash. She has got a Tash as well. Will you miss Philip Schofield? Will you miss Philip Schofield? Come on. I move fast for a big boy. Come on, I've literally run now. I'm going to have a heart attack. Come on. Right, come on. Let's shift those pounds. Are you willing to say anything nice about Philip Schofield?
No.
Come on, we'll clear the way. Excuse me, out the way. Van coming through. Keep up with me. Come on, van coming through. Clear the way, guys. Come on, clear the way. Have you got anything nice to say about Philip Schofield?
Well, it tasted really good, and the price seems really good, so had a good time.
So I asked you what you think of Philip Schofield, and you said the price was very good and the food's excellent.
Yes.
Is it possible that you think this kebab shop's called Philip Schofield?
Oh, I've got no clue where I am.
Okay, so it's over to you guys. Has Keir Starmer said that he's going to give a knighthood to Philip Schofield? Is it true or false?
It's got to be false.
Yeah, there's no way Keir Starmer would back that horse. No.
False.
It is absolutely false.
Yeah.
I mean, knighthoods are so discredited nowadays. What difference does it make? Okay, a London theatre is facing a backlash after having a black-only event where white people are discouraged from attending. What do you think?
Well, I mean, given the current climate, that absolutely has to be true.
Yeah,
But I think it's a PR stunt. I don't think they were doing. I think they just wanted their tiny little play that no one was going to go and see to be in the headlines for ages. And apparently, it was only for one showing.
By the way, I'm sorry to just ruin this for everybody in terms of whether it's true or false, but this event is not going to be black only because me and Russell Quirk have bought tickets, right? And we'll be attending. I'm not joking. I'm not joking.
Do you think you'll be let in?
Yeah, we've got front row tickets.
Front row tickets. That is fantastic. Well, what you can do is just say, well, I identify as a black man, and if you try and criticise me, then...
I think actually it's quite interesting because I was talking to Russell about how you go along and not get accused of being racist, ironically, for a sort of gate crashing a black-only event. And what we think we're probably going to do is just literally go in, sit down, watch the show, and then just see how people react. But I think it might get a bit fruity.
Are you going to film it? It would be great if you could get kicked out.
You should film it.
How much do you know about this show, Andre? Because I found this story so interesting. So the show itself is called Blackout.
It is. And it's about the colonial history of Africa, isn't it?
They describe it as being a take on a minstrel show, which infamously is completely white people blacking up. Infamously.
It should be called Whites Out.
But the tagline they put along with it for the night that is excluding white people, it's to get away from the white people's gaze.
Yeah. Absolutely.
The gaze.
We've done a question like this before. I think it was in Canada before. So it's nowhere new story. It's something that, sadly, come across the pond.
Sunil, I just want to ask you, Britain did have a colonial history, and not all of it is absolutely fantastic. Is there an argument for saying, look, we should give an opportunity for people of African descent to get together away from British people and think about and talk about their history?
No, I think you can do that privately in your house, you can do that privately wherever. I think this colonial stuff is just crazy. Which civilization, which religion, which race didn't do, in some capacity, colonization? We all did it. It's just for some reason we're fixated on British Empire, whatever, last 100 years. we've all done it. We've all done some really bad things. Move on.
I mean, I tell you what really frustrates me when you see all these sort of statues coming down and you see people where you think, well, this Edward Coulston guy in Bristol, I didn't realise this, was not a slave master, right? He's a guy who actually was a merchant in the City of London and then went on to be deputy governor of the Royal Africa Company, which, as far as I can see, was just a title they gave him to make him sound good. And of course, his statue's being ripped down and all this. And actually, some of it is fabricating our history, but also some of it is treating people by today's standards. And the nature of humanity is that we pass information from father to son. And therefore, people in the past will be backward compared to us in the same way as we will be backward compared to people in the future.
Yeah. Social norms change. Social norms change. Today, what's acceptable is different from what it was 50 years, 100 years ago. You can't judge everything from 100 years ago to today's standard. That is just crazy.
Things change, but also, I mean, you make a great point that across the world, these things have happened everywhere. I mean, I'm from North Africa. We had the Barbary slave trade. We actually enslaved white people. So in terms of the way that these sort of microaggressions has actually happened in the past, actually, when we're looking at the way that history has happened, it's happened everywhere. This kind of colonisation, this kind of oppression has happened.
Reem, the thing that amazed me was when I saw people, and admittedly it didn't go very far, talking about taking down Nelson's column because the Admiral, the Lord Nelson, was in favour of the slave trade. But of course, when it was made illegal, he actually then fought in the war to stop the Spanish trading in slaves. And so this man literally had risked his life to end slavery. And because he personally didn't agree with the piece of legislation abolishing it, suddenly they want to take down his statue.
No, it's ridiculous.
Also, the chief achievement of the British Empire was abolishing slavery throughout the empire. As soon as we had control over certain territories, we abolished slavery in all of them. So actually, we'd probably still have slavery if it weren't for the empire.
Because it's amazing, actually, Ben, isn't it, that legislation in Britain was not to abolish slavery in Britain. It was to basically start making it illegal worldwide.
Throughout the empire.
Yeah, so even the Spanish slave traders were stopped because it was considered illegal in Britain.
Yeah, and it wouldn't have happened in America if it hadn't happened throughout the British Empire first. It was, we did set the tone for abolishing slavery.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Absolutely. OK, so is a London theatre facing a backlash? Is it true or false?
It's definitely
It is. It is absolutely true. I just can't wait till they see my large blubbery face sitting there on the front row.
That was the woke that was. Continues after the break. Welcome back to That Was the Woke That Was.
OK, so we're on 50 points each, and the next question is to you guys. Starbucks has gone woke. In their latest advert, they invite trans women to reunite with their estranged families over a coffee. True or false? If you were a trans woman, would a coffee at Starbucks be the number one thing?
How do you know it's not a trans woman? Did you just assume
you're transgender?
Yeah, that's right.
Oh,
so
dear.
sorry.
Okay.
So sorry.
That's
It's the bearded lady. But look, this has been apparently quite controversial, this idea of, everybody using the trans issue, people jumping on top. I've said this before today. Look, it is now £3 a pint for Bud Light at Wetherspoons. So well done, Anheuser-Busch. Really pleased about that. You might have lost a lot of money, but I'll tell you what, my consumption of your not very good lager has gone up massively.
But also you've got that Dylan Mulvaney chap that you just mentioned about Bud Light.
Dylan Mulvaney, yeah.
Mulvaney, who also then did advert for Tampax.
Yes.
Which is just
I mean, that's horribly offensive, isn't it? For women across the world who've had to experience periods for their entire lives,
Absolutely.
the majority of their lives, and that struggle as a teenager. To then see somebody dance around who has never had a period before, never can have a period, dance around with tampons and make it such a trivial thing, it's horrible. But with coffee, I mean, again, it is a universal thing.
Yes.
The story behind it might be a little bit silly, but I think that at the end of the day, it is kind of a universal experience to have your estranged family come back and share a nice ice caramel latte from Starbucks.
But Reem, I just feel like, and maybe even television reflects this, I feel like women have been so pushed out of so many industries for so long. And then, we do well in this show because obviously we've got talented women in there, but it's a relatively new thing across the country to do that, and indeed across the world. It just feels to me like
the minute women got rights, immediately they started being taken away from them.
Especially on sports, right? I mean, when it comes to women's sports, the amount of times that we've been pushed out. We had this grown man.
Yeah.
Who won the first race when it comes to in the women's section. Of course, he was going to beat the women. I mean, he's like 8 foot with massive muscles.
Men and women are built different.
It's like, wow, biologically we're different.
Well, the one that made me laugh was that weightlifter that looked like Meatloaf. It was like competing in the women's category. I mean, it's just unbelievable. I mean, I just. Although I will say one thing, Ben, just as a worry, have we got too much of a downer on the trans community? Because at the end of the day, the vast majority of them are decent tax-paying people who just want to go about their own lives.
The problem is that they demand so much attention. You do have to talk about it.
But is it when you say they or a few of them?
Well, I was using the gendered pronoun. I was being actually very sensitive and socially progressive there. But in general, I think with coffee shops, if they want to be socially aware and they want to be progressive and they want to do something
I think they should just sell you a coffee.
Well, no, but they've got loads of food that they throw away at the end of the day and stuff. Why don't you go out and give it to the homeless? Why don't you do something that you can actually do as a part of your business rather than just the virtue signalling? And if they did start a food bank, it could be called Cost of Living.
Oh,
I mean, it's Starbucks, but nice try.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing.
You should write for Bobby Davro. Okay.
He's a lovely bloke.
He is a lovely bloke, actually. Right, OK, look, I appreciate... We know what direction you're going in, but perhaps this will help you out. Here is the actual advert.
Coffee.
3 cold coffees for Arpita.
Oh, it starts with your name.
But look, it's been controversial, this in India, and people have suggested, on the one hand, that it's saying that people in India are intolerant of the trans issue. On the other hand, some people are saying that maybe they are. What's your take?
I just think India is, a much more traditional country than probably here in the West. And I think you've just got to let their people decide. Let them decide what they think is appropriate and not. We can't go around deciding, or Starbucks or whoever deciding what's OK and not.
The crux is they're selling coffee, aren't they? I mean,
Yeah.
is anyone more inclined to go to
They're
Starbucks?
not. They're selling dreams. Selling dreams.
I wish they would just sell coffee
and not.
I wish they would just sell coffee and not make everything like a political message. Sell your coffee, that's it, full stop.
Well, one of the things that really worries me about it, we see countries in the West, but also, India's an ally of Britain. We see countries like ours constantly going woke, going broke, whilst other countries are not doing it and actually are financially benefiting. Because, I made a joke about Anheuser-Busch, but, this is a major US corporation that's being systematically destroyed by wokeism. Now, beer drinking, in the same way as manufacturing, will not disappear. What will happen is other people will benefit.
Yeah, definitely. I think what you'll see, foreign companies take advantage and they'll just keep growing and growing whilst we keep trying to do stuff like this and not really... We'll take this political messaging, whatever's cool or trendy at the moment, rather than just focusing on generating profit, low taxes, growing our economy, and we'll become more focused on political, trendy messages.
Political correctness.
Yeah.
Now, I appreciate asking you whether this is true or false might be slightly redundant, having watched the commercial. I think you were going to say true anyway, weren't you?
I mean, it'd be more impressive if Chuck Thomas just made that up in the gallery.
Absolutely. OK, I'm going to say true on your behalf. It is absolutely true.
Hey.
55 points to you guys. Now, you're trailing. I don't know why. It's just because I make up the scores. OK. BT has announced that it's going to get rid of 10,000 staff and instead replace them with artificial intelligence. Oof.
Well, I mean, they basically are already artificial intelligence. When you call them up, they just repeat the same line over and over again. I mean, what difference will it make? You never get anywhere.
Do you know, my uncle phoned up, I'm not joking, my uncle phoned up BT and he goes, hello, and the voice on the end of the line said, hello, BT, Patricia Mulrooney speaking. He goes, you know what? I've got a sister called Patricia Mulrooney.
and she works for BT. And she goes, I am your sister now. Obviously.
Just called her on a mobile, you know, get up there a lot quicker.
There you go. Well, look, I think it would make, sort of cost-effective sense to use artificial intelligence to replace these useless people that are on the other line of BT. I think, look, if artificial intelligence is the future, where they can actually replace them, costs a lot less, and that is that kind of future investment in that technology, I think it could definitely be true.
In the green room before, Reem, I got an advert for a chatbot system that offered me the opportunity to talk to Bob Marley all day.
And Jesus.
and Jesus. I mean, look, all it does is, it's just a big database, isn't it? What worries me about AI is that people are obsessed with the idea that it is intelligent, whereas actually it just isn't. I mean, if you ask, I get in touch with the customer service department because I've got a genuine problem. When I attempt to speak to a chatbot, it doesn't understand the problem because guess what? The problem's complicated, which is why I got in touch with them.
But also, it's going to have to obviously be backed up by real people on phones. So
oh, I bet it won't be though, will it?
Well, it won't, and that's the problem. They'll have like a few people, they'll cut back massively, and then you'll just end up in a longer queue than ever before, and you'll just give up. People just switch over to different places which don't have AI.
Do you think there's an element of personal touch which is going to become popular? I've got to be honest.
Yeah.
I switched banks based on the fact that a new bank opened up where they were just going to open lots and lots of stores and lots of branches.
Definitely. I mean, how many times do you guys go into supermarkets now and there's no person on the checkout? It's all just your self-automated.
Oh, no, I like that.
Same, I don't like talking to people. Why are we surprised that a tech company is going to be one of the first to really make giant steps within AI systems? But this is actually a really fascinating story. So they plan by, I think it's 2030, to get rid of 55,000 jobs and replace 10,000 of them with AI systems. Now, what that basically means is that it's saying that 10,000 AIs can do the job of 55,000. Now, obviously, that's room for alarm, considering a machine can do it 5 times better. But I think that's something we're just going to see time and time again. But again, within the tech industry, there's so many things that they can do better than a human person on the other end of the phone.
You know, when the argument took place with the Luddites, they said, look, technology actually will make work change. But look, when the horseless carriage, the car came out, wasn't good for the horses in the end, was it? Because there's far fewer of them now working.
That's just how advancements work, right? I mean, this argument that, AI or technology is going to take all of our jobs and we're all going to be homeless just is not true. And it's been proven wrong time and time again. That argument's been reused. And it's a boring argument because it's untrue. I think these tech advancements are really, really exciting. I think AI itself is really exciting. And it means that we can actually have better welfare, better healthcare. We could have, maybe to take off the pressure on the NHS. A lot of these different systems could automate our education system. Yeah. I think it's really exciting and we should stop being so negative.
I completely agree with that. I mean, even heck, let's look at what happened over lockdown. Zoom, the fact that we were so able to be that interconnected in a time when we simply couldn't leave the house.
The thing is, Lacey, about Zoom, then everyone just turned it off, right? I mean, its share price just went boom, boom.
The point is, there was once upon a time when if you wanted to go see someone, you'd have to go knock around their house. You couldn't send them a text to see if they were in first. everything is so much more developing as time and time progresses. And this is just the next step in that, I think.
I remember when I was at school, you had to phone your mate and go, look, let's meet at a certain place on a Saturday. And if you couldn't find them, you just had to go home.
Yeah,
I live 20 miles from Liverpool.
That's what I mean.
But BT, are they going to replace 10,000 jobs with AI?
Well, I think it's true. I think so, because it's not really a new thing, is it? You already have the automated phone call thing, so probably, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's true.
It's absolutely true!
That was The Woke That Was. Continues after the break. Welcome back to That Was The Woke That Was.
Discussing the cost of living crisis, Anne Widdecombe has told people not to make cheese sandwiches if they can't afford the ingredients. Come on.
This was brilliant. This was with Joe Colburn, I think, on, God, what's it? What did Andrew Neil used to present over on BBC?
The week, or
This week.
This week, yeah. I think that was it. And it was just a brilliant, she put across the point where it said, everything's now more expensive. It now costs 40p more to make a cheese sandwich. And Anne Widdecombe just said, well, don't bloody make cheese sandwiches then. And what happened to the idea that you only, live within your means? I mean, for goodness sake, it's not a barbaric idea, is it?
To be fair, Lacey, I think the point that was being made was that when a cheese sandwich is out of your financial reach, things have gone far too far.
Things are
The
pretty
cost
bleak
of
if you
And I wouldn't dispute that at all. But simply put, you know, if you can't afford to make a cheese sandwich, don't bloody make a cheese sandwich. There are other, you know, the point of
I guess
it
the question
is that you have to live. Your wages have to be reflected in terms of your lifestyle. And there are other things that haven't inflated in the same way that bread, butter, and cheese has.
We should bring back gruel. No, actually, can I tell you something? Gruel never went away. Do you know Horlicks and Ovaltine are types of gruel?
No.
They just don't advertise as gruel because
didn't know
the
that.
name is so discredited.
Isn't it just porridge?
No, actually, yeah, it's thin porridge basically.
It's malt, isn't it?
Yeah, it's malt that you mix with milk. Well, Horlicks.
And they mix water with it to water it down as well. So it must taste horrible.
No, it
But
doesn't.
I love Horlicks.
It is cheaper than a cheese sandwich. So
get on the Horlicks.
I do have a problem, though, with politicians coming out and saying, oh, just buy a cheaper brand of beans. It's like, well, we wouldn't have to if you didn't have the policies which you had. The reason people are annoyed is because you're making us poorer through terrible governance. And that's why people say, I don't want the cheaper beans.
And Ben, just to expand on that, I mean, I personally strongly believe that this net zero thing has been hugely damaging. I accept that the war in Ukraine and other things have pushed up costs, but all of these green levies, all of these expensive technologies, all these subsidies, it just feels like at least they could just stop it for a little while.
Yeah, and it's like they are pushing it onto us to
And
take
the one thing they won't do, they'll tell you to change your habits, they'll tell you to make more money, work harder. The one thing they will not do is get rid of the energy price increases related to green technology.
Despite the fact that everyone in the country seems to be against them, apart from a very small and very vocal minority, they don't care about what the people actually think. They just go, no, just eat the cheaper beans. You can't afford a cheese sandwich. Sorry, we need to pursue our green agenda.
No, absolutely, but we've got the green levies, but also when we're thinking about what's causing inflation, it is government policy. And it's the fact that the Bank of England have been effectively buying up government debt, spending, printing money like sweets, it's called quantitative easing. That's effectively that's the reason why our prices are much higher. And of course, wages aren't reflected in that. It's called stagnation, and it's the government's fault.
Give me a second. But Reem, I just want to stick with this because I have a limited knowledge of economics. I've got an A level in it, but that's obviously a school thing rather than a university thing. But to me, if you print more money, then money will be worth less. Prices will go up. I don't understand how you can undertake quantitative easing and not recognise that risk.
Absolutely, and this is the reason why the Bank of England seem to think that it can continue to happen. But we see this with central banks across the world. They seem to think that when you increase the money supply in the short term, of course, that means that the government's debt is less, right? Because that money is less. So it's effectively buying up government debt, making it reduced. This isn't, it's because of the COVID lockdowns, the amount of money that we spent, eat out to help out, all of the sort of furlough, all of these things cost money.
No, I'm sorry, I shouldn't say this because I wasn't pleased with Eat Out to Help Out, but it was 50%
off.
I
loved it. I used it. I milked it.
The mixed grill and a pint
at
Wetherspoons.
It was brilliant, but it was absolutely useless.
Waste of money,
isn't
it?
Waste of taxpayer money, and it's the reason why the government are now having to use the Bank of England in this
But just
way.
on that, Reem, we saw hyperinflation just after Germany did it in the war, and the loaf of bread cost, I think it was equivalent to £100 or something. So the idea where people go, we'll just print more money, it's just stupid, idiotic, and I don't want to pay any attention to that. But what you just said about inflation and wages not seeing that's the only thing. Going back to the question that I would raise a point on is that there are some things that have been more inflated than others, and I think that was simply Anne Widdecombe's point. I can't believe I'm defending her. Where have I got to in my life? I'm doing this. But just that some products have seen a sharper increase than others, and that's the crux of it. Yes, a cheese sandwich might seem a simple choice, but there are things that have been not inflated as much.
The sensible thing to do is to adapt, but they shouldn't have to adapt without the stupid policy making.
I appreciate that.
I will say one thing. I'm glad that you and Widdecombe are connecting because you're literally like as opposite as two females of the same species.
Neither of us can dance, so I'll give her that. But yeah.
Okay. So look, I think we know where we're going with this. But Anne Widdecombe, has she told people not to make cheese sandwiches?
Yes.
True.
It's
absolutely true. Right, this question annoys the hell out of me. OK, Keir Starmer has said the NHS won't survive if there's another 5 years of a Tory government. Now, I'm going to tell you, Ben, Reem, why this annoys me so much. Because I remember the first election I was aware of, I was 8 years old, it was the 1987 general election, and the number one issue that they were pushing in that election was that if Margaret Thatcher was re-elected, the NHS would not survive that term. Labour have said this at every single election.
It was exactly the point I was going to make. How long have they been predicting this? Every election for the past,
people
since
believe
it
it.
started. But how long has the NHS been on life support now? We should probably just euthanize it at this point. It's taking up vital NHS resources.
We've got 7.2 million people on waiting lists. We spend just below £200 billion a year on the NHS. Clearly, people understand that it is failing, and we need to have this reform.
It's part of the problem here that we have spectacularly failed to communicate to the British public that this is not a binary choice. It isn't. You either have the NHS in its current format or you have people dying on the streets because they're not being treated. We just can't seem to explain to people that reforming the NHS does not equal shutting down social healthcare.
I think with the NHS, it's so simple and everyone almost miss it. Our economy is failing. Our NHS is going to fail. Our NHS is only as good as our economy. If our economy is bad, which it is right now, so is our NHS. They're not immune to the fact that they are paid by our economy. So naturally, it's going to be going for a tough phase. We've just come out of 2 years of lockdowns. We've shut down an economy for 2 years. What do people think? The NHS is going to be...
But Sunil, what bothered me about that whole lockdown thing, I believe that we changed as a country. And not for the better. We went from being a country with a healthcare system to being a healthcare system with a country to finance it. Because remember, your duty was to protect the NHS before saving lives. I think it was stay at home, protect the NHS, save lives. And the idea that it was your duty to destroy your health, your wealth and your happiness in order to protect the NHS, I actually think crossed the line. Definitely.
And I think the best group of people to ask are the people from April 2020 to now that got cancer in that period. One of no one talked about this for a very long time. April 2020 on record is the lowest set of data of people getting cancer. People didn't stop getting cancer, but they were so scared to go to their GP over a flu virus that has 99.87% whatever mortality that they didn't go when they had a little cough.
Has Keir Starmer warned that the NHS has only got 5 years left?
He definitely has, because he's in on these sort of conspiracies, so he definitely has.
Unfortunately, and once again, like at every single election, it's true!
Oh.
OK, so they're on 86.5 points each. Right, there we go.
0.5?
A white man who was overlooked for promotion 25 times has finally become CEO after identifying as a black woman. Is it true or false?
That can't be true.
What do you think?
That can't be true. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, but that would be crazy.
Barbaric, right?
Yeah,
well, thankfully, this is from a satirical website, because I did see this story, because it took me so unaware. But this is Jonathan, who turned to Joanna.
Did that give him hope?
Well, no, apparently it did. I mean, the quote was, I wish I thought of this sooner, to be honest. This is thankfully a faux story.
Okay.
But no, I thought it was brilliant. The idea that, he was continuously overlooked as Jonathan, but then once he became Black Joanna...
It sounds laughable that somebody would be a male weightlifter and decide to don a dress in order to win the female title and get away with it.
I mean, heck...
But it's happened.
The crux of this show is to give stories that should be unbelievable, but sadly sometimes are true, and I think that's just very much the case with this. A guy that was in a company for 25 years then turns into a black woman. Hello, I'm CEO now.
I'm sure this has actually happened, though. I'm sure someone somewhere has transitioned and then got a promotion.
I totally believe that.
I think now that it's like the criteria. If you can show you're the most oppressed person, like you've had the most oppressed, whether it's being black, women, transsexual, you go right to the top. I think that's the message.
It's oppression
You can
points,
show
isn't it?
how much you've been oppressed, and then you go right to the top,
Absolutely.
rather than your skills.
But when I was involved in the National Union of Students, their National Black Caucus, you could self-define, but B, there were people, get this, who defined themselves as black because they were Irish. So has a white man that identified as a black female in order to finally get promoted to CEO. Is it true or false?
And thankfully, it's false.
It is absolutely false!
Yay.
100 points. Well done.
That was The Woke That Was. Continues after the break. Welcome back to That Was The Woke That Was.
Conservative MP Damian Green has said that when he was a child, he enjoyed swimming in sewage.
Well, he must feel right at home in Westminster.
Yeah.
Actually must do.
That's how I feel in Parliament every day.
Oh, it's hard. It's the Thames. It's just dirty, horrible. I think this could be true because I think that he is a sort of part of this kind of climate activist sort of surrounding. He's sort of part of this idea that he would actually be perfectly happy to swim around sewage. So I think it's true.
Yeah. So I think the point he was attempting to make was that things were simpler in the old days. But I mean, look, you know, I don't want to sound like I'm defending, you know, the left, but there are a lot of things that were really, really bad. I mean, the number of children that died in horrific accidents. I mean, you read some old Victorian newspapers and it's things like, you know, child went too close to fire and the clothes were highly flammable. You think, oh my God.
It's the beauty of technology, isn't it? The amount of safety regulations, sort of safety improvements, that have been implemented as a result of these technological advancements.
But that being said, where were his parents? I mean, surely that's a job for them. It's pretty obvious that it's not because he was so deprived and things were bad in the old days. It's like, don't swim in sewage. You know, it's a job for your parents.
You know,
but
it's turned out
he is a Remainer, so you never know.
Wow.
Yeah, I think the point is, I've seen documentaries before where kids, well, older people talk about when they were swimming in the Thames as kids. They said, oh, just when you got to the bank, you used to just move the dead cats out the way and all that sort of thing, and then just climb out.
Jump over the shopping trolley.
For Yorkshiremen, isn't it?
Christmas, we got smacked round the head in the Thames people with upper kids. I love that when they always go, in the old days, you could leave your door open, there was nothing to nick. Right? I mean, literally nothing.
They didn't have a door.
Yeah, that's right. You didn't need to lock your door. We couldn't afford a door. My dad had burnt it on fire for Christmas.
There is an element of like older people that look down on the younger generation and say, why are you complaining about there being no housing? Back in my day, we had nothing. And it's like, yes, I understand that you probably had a very, very bad life. I want a better one.
Also, the other thing that people have said about nostalgia for the past, they're going, look, who are people that talk about the sort of 1950s? Normally, it's old blokes, right?
Yeah.
And the only people obviously their mothers who were there with dolly boards, right?
Yeah.
They're all dead, so they can't talk about it. The dads are all dead who had to go down pits, and then the sisters normally don't go on TV. So it's basically these carefree young men going, "Oh, it was great back then. It was fantastic."
I'm sure it was for you.
We were able to play in the rubble of the bomb damage. Oh, that sounds fantastic.
And by the time they were 18, everything was fine. You know?
Damian Green, has he revealed that he used to swim in sewage, but he were a happy kid?
Well, I think that must be false, but you
I actually think it's true, but we can go with false.
No, we'll go with
I'll go with what the man wants.
No. And I'll be a gentleman and
which
say
one?
True.
It's absolutely true! The suggestion that there was nothing wrong with him given his views on Brexit is absolute nonsense. I mean, there must have been bottle feeding him 4-star petrol. Anyway, OK. Facebook stalkers have been left red-faced after a computer bug meant that all the people they looked at got friend requests from them.
I heard about this.
True or false?
Yeah, I heard about this. So, you know, when you're stalking on your ex online, recently there was a bug that meant that you accidentally sent them a friend request despite the fact you absolutely hadn't. But I saw it led to quite a few funny comments, ironically, on Twitter.
Yeah, but the problem I would have, I mean, very often when we've got people who are coming onto this show or indeed any of the other shows, we will look at their social media, just a matter of interest. I mean, I'd be adding all sorts of people.
All I see on there are people that you haven't heard from since primary school that are either engaged or are having babies.
Oh!
And it makes you really sad.
No, the one that I don't like is the way they're all feeling blessed. Oh, get out of it.
You know,
feeling blessed.
I haven't cared for you in many years. I still don't. Like, if you want to contact me, you can. I don't care for
the other one, Reem, that really annoys me is what people need to understand about me is that you can talk about me behind my back, but I'll know about it. No one cares.
Nobody cares. What I don't like about Facebook is the relationship status. And people update them regularly and say, I've been in a relationship for 2 months. Can't wait for my anniversary. Darling, it's been 2 months.
The most wild one was it's complicated.
It's complicated,
No, I'm sorry to be slightly crude, but it's complicated means he's willing to have me, but he's not going to date me. Right? That you're just humiliated by his
It's humiliating, so thus it's just a cry for help. You know, you're doing it for some purpose, and that's just what I hate about Facebook.
Yes.
I think it's
I haven't used it in years. I think the only people who use it now are over the age of about 55.
I agree, which is bizarre because that never
why
used to be the
Andre
case.
No, switch. switched.
Yeah, you used to be embarrassed when your parents used to get Facebook, and now it's just, no, please stay there.
Stay on that one.
What was that joke? I saw something quite funny on Twitter, and somebody said, "You know what? In 6 months' time, my dad's going to post a link from Facebook
Yeah.
of this to our family WhatsApp group." And you go, there is some truth in that, isn't there?
Yeah.
I mean, how has Facebook gone to being so uncool?
I think it was just because other stuff emerged, things moved quickly, and the younger generations moved over. So Twitter and Instagram, and now TikTok. I mean,
I love TikTok. I love TikTok. And
TikTok loves you.
TikTok is brilliant because it's the way you're able to communicate to other young people as well. I mean, TikTok is majoritively used by those that are under the age of 25. Facebook, again, it's sort of, you get those little reels now as well. So Facebook itself has adapted, from what it was 5 years ago. Yeah. And now you get the Instagram reels, TikTok things that were on TikTok again 5 years ago.
Sorry. There was so little English in that the president of France would have been proud. What's that all about?
On Facebook,
reels and Facebooks and TikTok. Look, can we just all agree that Facebook's rubbish?
It is
rubbish. It's attempted to adapt, but I think it's done a very bad job.
I don't even have the app.
Do you think that Facebook is finished? I mean, this Zuckerberg, I looked at that metaverse thing. Oh my God, it looks like an 8-year-old made it.
But obviously, Instagram's in the metaverse as well, and that's still one of the most successful platforms. I believe TikTok is the most successful social media platform, bar YouTube, if you count that as a social media platform. But no, as you rightly said, whether you understood it or not, Andre, YouTube now has YouTube Shorts. Everything's been adaptive from the TikTok form. But going back to the question itself, whether, about stalking people on Facebook, I think everyone stalks everyone. The whole point of social media is to be nosy. I mean, that's where reality TV came from. We like looking into people's lives. We like being intrusive.
Do you remember what Norman Tebbit once said? He said the word social is unbelievable in that it normally negates the word that comes immediately after it. So social media is not real media. Social housing is not very good housing. Social workers are not real workers. It really does work quite across the board. OK, but look, have Facebook stalkers been embarrassed because friends' requests got sent on their behalf?
Yeah, absolutely.
It is absolutely true! Mark's is away and his team has finally won. So congratulations to Reem and Ben. Commiserations, Sunil's first appearance and he lost for the first time. Lacey, you've won absolutely everything so far, so I don't have a problem with you losing. Right, I'm off now to prepare a big cheese sandwich for Anne Widdicombe. Until next week, goodbye.
Will they break the gender norm and they never will conform? Then I'm binary. It's here. Now that's what I call woke.
She's always the person with the cervix to me.
44 smash hits, now with more inclusive lyrics. Man, I feel gender fluid. Iconic tunes updated for the modern listener.
Love is to the left of me, vegans to the right. Here I am, stuck on the M1 with you.
Things can only get greater.
I want to know what a woman is.
Here in my car, I am killing the earth with my toxic exhaust. It's a selfish way to live. No trigger warning required. Oh, the wokey-cokey. Whoa, the wokey-cokey. Oh, my little Europhile, my Europhile. When you gonna follow me back, Ramona? Now that's what I call woke. Not streaming now.